Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Mountaineer postgame show. I'm Schuyler Callihan, and the Mountaineers defeat the Oklahoma State Cowboys 69-50. They improved to 11-2 on the season, 2-0 in Big 12 play. And before I dive into my thoughts, of course, let's take a look here at the numbers. Javon Small leading the way once again, a double-double for him, 24 points, 11 rebounds, also dished out 4 assists. Jonathan Powell, the true freshman, continues his sharp shooting on the season, 17 points, 5 of 7 from three-point land. Eduardo Andre, who was one of the big heroes in the win over Kansas earlier in the week, he has 7 points and 10 boards, also had 4 assists. And then Amani Hansberry off the bench in his first game back since his ankle injury, 6 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. West Virginia made 8 3-pointers in the first half, only 3 in the second. And for Oklahoma State, their poor offensive performance continues. They shot 33% from the field, 14.3% from three-point range. And, of course, both teams really didn't shoot it that well from the charity stripe. Oklahoma State, 11 of 20. West Virginia, only one better, 12 of 20. So, initial thoughts. First game in the Coliseum for the Big 12, and I thought that this was going to get kind of the way it ended. I thought it was going to be a little muddy there towards the end of the second half. You just never felt like, at least I didn't really feel like this was going to be a 25 to 30 point win. It just didn't feel like that. You know how these things are in the Big 12. The moment you think you got one in the bag, something happens, there's a run, and all of a sudden it becomes interesting. Luckily for West Virginia, they were able to knock down a couple of threes. Toby Akani and Jonathan Powell kind of hit back-to-back threes there towards the end to extend that lead to over 20 to get the Mountaineers a comfortable enough lead to be able to hold on to the end. But first things first, defensively, it's airtight. I mean, this is a very good defensive team. I don't have any metrics in front of me, and I'll maybe do something on that here in the next couple of days before the Arizona game, but this feels like one of the best team defenses that West Virginia has had in quite a while. I'd be willing to say maybe even going back to the Press Virginia days. Like it feels like this is one of the best units from top to bottom in the rotation. Every single one of the guys that touches the floor plays a level of defense that is winning basketball, winning caliber basketball. And it's only going to get better when they get some of those pieces back, like a Tucker DeVries. Jaden Stone's more of an offensive guy, but still, he's got to be able to play some sort of defense, or else he wouldn't be a part of this team. That's one of the pieces for Darren DeVries. If you're going to play for him, you got to be able to play some sort of defense at a winning level. And I just think if they continue to play at this level on that end of the floor, they're going to be just fine. They're going to be able to win games they probably shouldn't win, maybe even like the one on Tuesday against Kansas. You only score 62 points in the fog, more than likely you're going to lose that game. Very rarely do you hold the Jayhawks to 61 points at their place. So the fact that they were able to do that, get a win, and then follow that up with this defensive performance, hats off to Darren DeVries and that team. They've got everything clicking right now, at least on that end. Offensively, let's just go and talk about it. It was a nightmare in the second half, and it was really a nightmare at the start of the game too, before they really busted things open and were up 31-7 or 32-7 or whatever it was. But offensively, this team goes through droughts, and I'm not breaking any news here. Droughts happen in college basketball. It's been from the start of time. There has been droughts in basketball. We saw it tons of times during the Bob Huggins era. But the thing with this group is their droughts are really, really long. And when it feels like that drought starts, you almost feel like the other team's about to get into this 14-0 or 16-0 run, and all of a sudden things are going to be kind of flipped completely around. Now, you can kind of go into a 5-minute drought, and maybe just because of the defense that you play or the tenacity that you play on that end of the floor, maybe those runs don't happen as bad or they're not as extended because you're able to do your job on the defensive end. Today, though, it felt like once that run started for Oklahoma State, West Virginia looked a little gassed. They were a little tired. And Darren DeVries even mentioned it in his post-game interview with Tony Caridi. And it happens, but the thing is they've got to figure something out. This is two straight games now where the offense is just really dried up in the second half. They got outscored 41-29 in Lawrence in the second half. They got outscored here today. Um, and again, you're going to have those 5 to 6 minute droughts, but you can't have multiple droughts within the same half. If that happens, you have what happened today, where you only had 11 points. I think it was 12 minutes into the second half. Averaging less than a point in a minute's not going to cut it. So you've got to be able to solve some of those issues, even without Tucker DeVries, even without Jaden Stone. If somebody's in foul trouble, you still have to find a way to manufacture points, and I don't know where that comes from. Now today, of course, the big thing with Oklahoma State is they love to pressure you full court. They love to trap you in the half court, and that was problematic. Even again, going back to Tuesday, when Kansas started to make their run, they were starting to pressure, they were starting to trap, and West Virginia dribbled into trouble way too many times. That's what happened this afternoon, where it almost seemed like if Javon Small didn't have the ball in his hands, you kind of had to hold your breath there for a second, because whether it was Toby Akani or Sincere Harris or Eduardo Andre or anybody else that had the ball in their hands, it just had that feeling like something bad was about to happen. There was a little bit of a panic or an up speed or an up tempo pace to what they were trying to do offensively. That's not what West Virginia wants to do. They want to play things slow in the half court, and when they get sped up, they get into trouble. So how they beat that, how do they beat the press, how do they get some of those press breakers figured out? I'm not really sure, but they've got 48 plus hours to figure that out before Arizona comes to town. I don't know that they're going to do a whole lot of it, but we'll see what happens there. Amani Hansberry, his first game back, he too, as I mentioned in my article in the initial thoughts story, I thought he kind of looked a little sluggish, which is to be expected. Defensively, just didn't have the same bounce in his step, wasn't as quick with his first step. So we'll see how that transpires. But I think coming off the bench is probably a good thing for him right now, especially with the way Eduardo Andre is playing. You don't need to put him out there and get him 30 minutes a game right now. You just don't need to do that. And the other thing, Sincere Harris. I've been on him 0 for 26 on the 3-point shooting coming into today. He missed his first two to extend it to 0 for 28. One of those, I think it was the first one that he took, he and Javon Small kind of ended up in the same spot. It happens, but for him to kind of be the guy that steps in front of Javon Small and then just heaves up a three, and then the second attempt was way too early in the shot clock for my or probably anyone's liking. You just can't have those. Now he did find a way to get a couple of those shots to go down, so we did see a couple shots go through the hoop, but still somebody you probably don't want to take a whole bunch of threes per game. And I don't think he's going to turn into this 3-point specialist overnight. I don't think anybody expects that. But if he can somehow just knock down one of those a game, just one, all of a sudden that scouting report changes to, hey, give him 8 feet to, okay, maybe let's give him 5 or 4 feet of space and see what happens. If he starts to knock that shot down more consistently, you're going to draw the defense out to the perimeter more, opens the floor for Hansberry or Andre or anybody that's cutting in the middle of the paint. So it's just going to open up things more for West Virginia's offense. So just him knocking down that occasional three will be huge if he can do that on a regular basis. Don't know if that's going to happen or if today was just the two that he's going to have for maybe the next 4 or 5 games. I don't know, but we'll see. So that's going to do it for us here today on the Mountaineer postgame show. West Virginia wins 69-50 over Oklahoma State. They'll be back in action on Tuesday night at the WVU Coliseum to host the Arizona Wildcats in Big 12 action. They already took on the Wildcats earlier this year in the Bahamas, which of course did not count toward the league record. So that's going to do it for us. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you hit the subscribe button here on our YouTube page at West Virginia on SI. Give us a like and a follow on X at SI_WVU. We'll see you guys tomorrow on Between Years.